Greetings and welcome. Thank you for tuning in to RPMMORadio, whether live at twitch.tv/RPMMORadio or on any versions of the podcast we have out there. This is our 11th episode, Deep Split. It'll be an interesting topic in talking about how we actually kind of figure out what we want to do when either turning into going to roleplay or actually playing the video game that we're role-playing in. So, I'll be your host, Ashford Phoenix, and of course with me is the two ladies, Sib.
Hello.
And, what was her name? Jazz.
Hello.
Jazz the Child Slayer.
Not Slayer, but certainly
Tamer.
For my kids.
Yeah, it's always fantastic. We should record that one time when you're having to warn your kids out of your room. It really does. It sounds like those old-fashioned lion tamers. I just see you with like a chair and a whip, like, whoosh, get back, beast. Yeah, out of here. Yeah, keep it down. Teenagers are fun. If you ever have any, don't.
Seriously.
Right. So, first off, we got a couple things to go over on the show itself, actually. First of all, we hit, last episode was the huge milestone of double digits. So, that was awesome. And we're continuing that milestone with 2 1s. Snake Eyes. But we also have reached another big milestone, and that is 10,000 downloads, and that is awesome. It's kind of humbling and awesome to know that there's 10,000 people out there that have, well, maybe not 10,000 individuals because we have more than one episode. So, but 10,000 times our stuff has been listened to, and you guys have appreciated enough to actually probably come back, hopefully.
Yes.
And listen to it more than the one episode at a time. And that is really awesome, and we really, really appreciate everybody that tunes in and listens, whether it's on the live feed or over the podcasts after the fact, even a few of you on YouTube out there, which, you know, we mostly throw that up kind of just as an afterthought. It's YouTube's, as anybody knows about YouTube right now, they're having some problems with people that make content on their stuff. So it's mostly an afterthought platform for us. We really are a podcast first and foremost. Even the live shows is mostly just so that we can interact with people, as I was doing before the show. Hello, Cersei. But that is just really, really cool, really, really humbling. One thing I do want to encourage too is that since there are, you know, we know there's so many of you guys out there listening, feel free to anytime, you know, we want, one of our main things for this, just like roleplay, is the more the merrier. The more people we get involved with the show, the more we can do, and the more we have to bounce off of. You know, we want to interact with you guys. We don't bite much. I mean, I can't speak entirely for Jazz, depending on what character she logs into.
It's very true.
It's very true. And it may not even be physical fluids. He's been known to just take the life and soul out of you. Ask her husband. Nothing but love, Jay. Nothing but love, brother. But
sister.
No, Jay's
Oh, Jay.
Jay.
You're talking about, I was confused. I was thinking Jazz. I'm waking up right now.
No,
Let me drink some more coffee. Sorry about that.
Right, yeah. No,
Okay.
we call her man boy Jay. It's
Okay, yeah. I got on.
But yeah, you can always do that. We have a Facebook, you know, facebook.com/RPMMORadio, Twitter. You can also always just email us directly if, you know, you want to. It's Gmail or rpmmoradio@gmail.com. You know, and if you have a question or even a story or something to do with roleplay, you know, we're happy to hear from you, and probably, you know, read it and on the air if you want to include your name and what, you know, of your name of your character and what server and game you're in. Perfectly fine. You know, this just, excuse me, I'm so verklempt. I'm just overcome with emotion over here. Not because I'm choking on the water. But you know, anything like that you guys might have, you want to hear us talk about. There's actually been several times we've done topics based on listener feedback. One of them we'll probably be doing here shortly. since the Secret World's, I guess, kind of launching now, is one Circe, who I mentioned earlier and has been listening from the very beginning because she's a good friend and a great listener, just like you should be, and interacts with us, is talking about the difference in MMOs and roleplay based on something that's a linear game versus like an open world sandbox type of game and things like that, which is an interesting topic and one we'll probably be doing here shortly. Not today though, because we've already got another one that's completely different from that. But I just want to encourage you guys out there, give us a shout, give us a ringy dingy. What ringy dingy? If you remember that, you're of my age. I know you two do, don't you?
Oh, yes.
Bad, but true.
That's back when Saturday Night Live didn't completely blow. God, that's been 15 years since I thought that on that show, but that's completely neither here nor there. Their new cast is usually garbage. So that's just all I want to encourage you guys to do. Of course, like, share, subscribe if you really like to, and all that stuff. The usual. If you listening to this as a podcast, you know how that crap works. Just appreciate that and any feedback you give and anything like that. So, with that said, seriously and sincerely, thank you all for listening. We really, really appreciate it. It's still just as much fun doing it now as it was when we first started. Of course, the difference would be that the quality hopefully isn't as garbage as when we first started, because that was horrible.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
It's just...
And bless you those that made it through those first couple episodes.
Yeah, definitely. I actually signed us up on, what was it? Oh, iHeartRadio was a new one I've heard. I was like, oh yeah, I should probably put us on that too. And it's like, I did it like, you're over your limit. If you don't upgrade to our thing now, we're going to delete your last, however first episode you have. It's like, that's okay. I'm okay with that. If they really want to hear that, they can go somewhere else to listen to that. Just listen to the updated stuff. It's a lot better. So, all right. Well, I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you hanging in there with me while I went over that, and we're just really proud and happy to have that happen. So, with that said and done, and all our legal obligations taken care of, what have we been up to role-playing or playing in the games? Anyone want to take a pitch?
Well, go ahead.
As I say, I'll go first because mine's short. I haven't got to be in the game at all. Of course, real life first, and our son.
Boo.
I know, I miss it so bad, but no, our son, he made a summer team for the high school, and they have had games like every night during the week, and then the
3 or 4
weekends
nights
we're doing rec ball, so I have really just not been able to play.
Mm-hmm.
I do miss it so much, and I'm hoping next month, well, it'll be a little better.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even realize you were gone. I just now you saying that, I was like, huh, you haven't been around. That's weird because we live in the same house. You'd think I would have noticed before now.
No, you wouldn't.
Nah, I'm a terrible person, very selfish. So what's up with you, Jazz? What you been up to?
Work. I've had a lot of headaches, so I have been kind of, not sure what the word would be, just kind of leveling and hanging to myself and staying off of voice quite a bit while I do that.
Mm-hmm.
I know we had some downtime, and I got more gardening done, so I've been focusing on gardening. I've also been working on my writing.
You write? Huh.
No, right?
She writes well too.
She does. It's one, but she's as bad as I am when if the mood doesn't strike you, it ain't getting writ.
No, I just can't. It really is just 100% if I am in the mood, and if I'm not, it just comes out utter crap, and I end up getting rid of it because I'm just like, oh, this sucked. I was not in the mood today.
Yeah, you're writing it, and you're like, yeah, this isn't too bad. 24 hours later, you read it. Yeah, well, delete.
Yeah.
delete.
Well, that was garbage. Start over.
Yeah.
So,
what is this? A Twilight fan fiction made into a really trilogy of books and some horrible movies for old ladies?
Yeah.
I'm talking about the what's that series that I just
Twilight.
referenced? Yeah, no,
Twilight.
it wasn't. What was it? The 50 Shades of Grey. That's how that came about.
Oh God, that's
Twilight
worse.
fan fiction that that just went south.
God. South for sure in more than one way.
Wow, wow.
What was I going to say?
I don't know.
I don't remember either. So
I know you and I had a little bit of role play the other day. Someone in our one guild had a little get together, kind of meeting new characters that they had made. So that was. It's been a long time. I've been on Tarvala so much, and we've kind of hit and missed on a lot of the stuff that it was nice getting to role play with old friends again, even if it was. It's always weird when you're role playing with old friends, sort of for the first time on the character. And you're like, I know who you are, but I don't know who you are.
I feel like I should be jealous of Tarvala.
You should be.
She's the other woman in your life.
Yeah, she's, as I've been told, thick. Every time,
my God.
I just ran
and
up.
He's not referring to her.
Oh yeah, you're jealous of her because you just know I look good. Shit. You wish you looked this good. Bring out my sassy dark elf.
That's right.
But yeah, and so what I've been up to is actually playing on Tarvala, just my dark elf. But she actually got promoted to her initiate status as an ordinator within the temple of the tribunal, which was fun. She got to beat the shit out of another recruit. Yeah, almost punched a hole in her chest. So that was fun. And we have a couple other things. I'm hoping tomorrow that about the same time as the show today, actually, that we'll be doing hopefully some short-term heist RP for our guild. So since they're all a bunch of criminal stuff, we've not had a lot of chance to do criminal stuff, and I was like, okay, now that I've gotten some ways of doing events in ESO without like the /random and stuff that everybody has in a lot of other games, I've come across a few other ways to do that stuff. So it should be fun. Hopefully, we'll have some interaction, get the guild moving along, and actually, steal things, which is always fun. I don't know who's gonna be Clooney and who's gonna be Pitt and who's gonna be the. We're gonna need the stereotypical Asian and one token black guy too. So hopefully we can get all that taken care of if we're gonna do the Ocean's 11 thing. And of course we gotta have a chick. There's always like one or two chicks because they're the ones that look sexy while everyone's being distracted. Isn't that how that goes? Anybody at all doing the show? Is it just gonna leave me out to dry? All right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Assholes.
Yes.
This is why nobody likes you. But anyway, that's what I've been up to. It's been a lot of fun. Kind of really looking forward to actually do it. It's been a long time since I've done events in basically story-driven, which is another show we hope to get into, is how to do them and the various different kinds of them. But that will be in the future because there's honestly just so much to do.
There it is.
So with that, we're going to go into the news. Like I was saying earlier, Secret Worlds relaunched. It's the Secret Worlds Legends now. I got most of this is the impressions off of Massively Overpowered, who at this point, seems to be our main source because they're pretty good when it comes to MMO articles. A lot of the other places they do them, but I don't know, not really.
God, they have so many
MMO
MMO articles.
Yeah. But this one's by Larry Everett, who he's kind of like the reason I picked this was because he's actually someone in the same vein as I am. He played the Secret World. I actually think we played it longer, than this guy did. But he's played it before, but it never really grabbed him. Just kind of like it never really grabbed us either. It was a good game, and the story was interesting. So it was kind of neat to hear his perspective on it. And it sounds like it's definitely had a better launch than poor Stormblood and from Final Fantasy, which I think Jazz might have a reason why that apparently went south.
Yeah.
And even ESO took a hit on that one, but thankfully I think they were spared, so as far as I can tell, they've actually had a fairly smooth launch. But this was mainly on, it's basically it's a very similar game, and it's, even when the game came out 5 years ago, graphically it wasn't even really on par, I didn't think, with stuff from 5 years ago. it's still kind of, the animations are clunky. The world looks great, but a lot of the characters and stuff are a little, I don't know, they're just clunky, I guess. They look like, they're, even when it came out, they look like they were 3 or 4 years out of date. And now that it's, 5 years from the release, they're about 8 or 9 years out of date. And that still, you pretty much still have to overlook graphical stuff. But for a lot of new players, they said, they were going over how story-wise and stuff, because ESO did have amazing story. The way they did that is or not ESO, sorry, The Secret World. They basically took the trope of all of the conspiracy theories of the Illuminati and ghosts and demons and all that stuff is true, of course, and did it in a modern setting. And it seems like it's pretty good especially for new players. I've still not, until I jump into it, I really don't know how well it will be for role-playing, because it's not quite the same game as it was. Apparently they smoothed out the combat a little bit, which is great. For returning players, they all had their characters deleted and have to basically start over. And of course, a lot of the quests and stuff are still similar to what they were back when they first played. So I guess it really depends on how much you really love the game.
I would say so. That sucks.
Yeah, because everybody's basically starting from scratch. I think old players, like, they got some bonuses and things like that, but, yeesh, that's kind of rough. But mostly, aesthetically, it's just it's a game definitely worth checking out especially now, if you've never checked out The Secret World, definitely give it a shot. It's not going to hurt you. I mean, not going to cost you anything unless you want it to. So you're really not out anything other than download speeds and the gigabytes to get it on your computer. So that's kind of where I'm at. It's definitely something I plan on trying out. I'm probably going to give it a couple weeks so that if there are any hiccups, I don't get frustrated with it, because I get frustrated easily with crap like that. But we'll go ahead from there, go into what Jazz had, because speaking of things that were frustrating, take it away, Jazz.
Well, both Final Fantasy and ESO have had downtimes. I know Final Fantasy has had queues while they deal with people and being able to do things. And a lot of lag and a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, queues
that's been
upwards.
really frustrating. Yeah.
Yeah, queues upward of, like, literally to get into the game, we're in the thousands at point, hours long.
Queues never make people happy.
No. Especially when it's just to get in to play the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've also, I had heard too that now they're saying it was part of a DDoS attack was the reason they had that problem with the logins. That's what I was hinting at. They claimed that, but the thing, I don't know. I mean, you want to trust these companies when they come out with stuff, but they're also still companies, and they'll cover their ass to cover up incompetence, and they didn't.
Yeah, it's not like you can disprove DDoS.
Right.
I mean,
the only thing that's so weird about it is they didn't say, like, because they had the early launch for Stormblood, and then it was like 3 or 4 days later, they're like, oh yeah, part of the reason this was so bad was because we were under DDoS attacks. Well, why didn't you say that as soon as you found out about it? That probably would have gotten you a lot more leeway than, hey, we're completely incompetent and more people are playing our game than we thought they would.
Yeah.
And that is super frustrating.
Yeah, like lead with the it's someone else's fault. Don't wait a while and then be like, it's someone else's fault. No, really, why don't you believe me now?
Yeah. That's
especially when apparently some of the, if you guys have ever played, I know you guys have, we all played it together, the main story quest, that you have to go through and progress to get to new areas. Apparently one of the very first parts of it was bottlenecked to the duty finder, and because of course, the lag and stuff, people weren't able to do that quest at all, which means they were stuck until shit got better. So you couldn't advance, brand new expansion, you can't advance further, like you couldn't get past the, it's separated into 2 areas, Alamigo, which was part of the original continent, and then Authored, which is the Weeaboo Japanese ultra cartoon anime place, but you couldn't get to the second part because you couldn't get past the first part because your duty finder wouldn't pop and was kicking you out and wouldn't work because of all the DDoS stuff, apparently. I don't know. It just seemed weird to me that they would wait so long to do that. Maybe I'm just getting so cynical with these companies at times.
Well, you remember, when we had all those problems with EQ, and then they ended up having to shut down because they had to tell the truth in the end, and they lied to everyone for how long?
Yeah.
And then it blew up in their face, of course, and we
Well,
lost
as it always
for
does.
how long? Like a month? I mean,
Yeah.
Actually, it was longer than that, wasn't it? It was like 2 or 3 months.
Off and on, yeah, because it was just
Yeah.
it was just a stuttering shit show of
Yeah, it was
awful
really
gameplay.
bad. And so people just were elsewhere. And
Yeah.
I remember we were.
Yeah, and supposedly ESO. I know a few days ago it was actually at the same time Final Fantasy was having problems. That's the only thing I give legitimacy to their what they say is that ESO was also getting, I think, hit with them because
Yes.
we were getting, I was in the middle of an RP event and we're in a room full of 30 people, and then all of a sudden, with a snap of a finger, like Q from Star Trek, half of them disappeared. It's just like, huh. And everyone was like, all right, well, we're all able to get back on. And then it, like, 5 minutes later, snap. And I was one of them, and I was like, all right, I'm not messing with this. I can already see where this is going. As much as I wanted to see the RP event, I'm not going to bang my head against this DDoS wall. And by the way, if you're hackers out there, fuck you. You're assholes. Nobody likes you. Go hug your anime waifu pillow and get lost.
Oh my goodness. Are you trying to get us in trouble?
Yeah, what can they do? To get us taken off, they have to go all the way through Podbean. Go for it. That's Podbean's problem. Yeah, go after iTunes. That'll teach me. Yeah, go after the multi-billion-dollar company that spanks you every single time.
It is funny how some companies are able to just shrug them off, and others are just taken down by it over and over and over again.
They can literally just, and and the sad part is it's not like it's not, when I say something like that, it's not like it's like, what's the big hacker group, Anonymous. This isn't Anonymous.
Yeah.
This is just some shitty little 14-year-old that's like, I know how to hack. I got it off of a web forum. Wow. So I think they actually caught one of those little shits too, and he was like 18 years old, and he got a pretty hefty prison fine for doing that. So
prison fine, is that different than regular fine?
Well, because it was a fine and it was a prison, so it's a prison fine.
I see.
Yeah, he actually got sentenced to some jail time and had to pay a pretty hefty fine because he cost the company hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yes.
So, all right, so we got one other news story, and that would be from Sib. What you got, babe?
Mine's not big and glamorous, but it's now I'm drawing blank. Okay, it's from Massively Overpowered, of course, and it's by Elliot, and I'm gonna ruin this name.
She asked me, and I was like, French.
Breyer? I don't know. But he did one on the Morrowind soundtrack. Soundtrack is now available digitally, which means you can take it anywhere you want to go and listen to your favorite Morrowind tunes, such as, let's see, Vardenfell Vista or Omen's Prophecy, which I know Ashen likes to listen to a lot of this music. It's not my cup of tea whenever I RP, but I like to listen to other artists and stuff. I
love a lot of video game music. I like you too, though. I can't listen to music when I'm doing quests because I like to hear the NPCs. I like when they talk.
But if I'm RPing, I want to listen to something that, puts me in the mood of whatever I'm RPing.
Yeah, and I like that too. But I will say, especially the Morrowind music was, I think for some of the first times in ESO, because Elder Scrolls music has always been pretty good, but I really actually noticed it in Morrowind. It was I don't know. I think they outdid themselves from the first one. It was just a lot better overall.
I haven't got to do Vardenfell or Morrowind much.
Vardenfell.
I haven't got into there because whenever I went into it in the game last time I was able to log in, it was so crowded. And I'm kind of hoping when I finally go back and am able to go through the quest, I can actually do some killing and not have to be like run through and just grab stuff because there's nobody to kill around.
Yeah, and it was really, really bad, especially especially the that first 2 weeks when you got there early.
It's new and everybody wants to do it, so
it is much better now. I will say if you've not gone through Morrowind because you were waiting like Sib, it's worth it now. It's chilled out quite a bit. There's still plenty of people there, but you're not going to go through a dungeon without having the chance to kill a single thing in it like it was that first
it was frustrating, but I understand,
I'm here to level.
Shiny.
I almost touched something.
You run, you see something spawn and you're like running as fast as you can and somebody gets it before you and starts killing it. And
like, you better hope you got range shit on there because otherwise you're not getting a hit in.
Yeah. Yep. But the soundtrack is available via Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, Google Music, and a few other platforms that doesn't have mentioned, but it's something to check out. And I think on that note, I'm going to try to get a survey or just, a little question up on the Facebook page asking, what's your favorite kind of music to listen to in the RP?
Yeah.
I know I like to listen to Meg Myers, even though she's all over the place, but I just like her songs.
Yeah, no, that's not bad. Yeah, definitely throw that up on there if there's something you like listening to when you're role playing. There's something you prefer one over one or the other. Go over to the page there and take a look and shout it out. Or if you're even on Discord, feel free to let us know there. We'll see if any of this stuff aligns. I'm just gonna assume for most people it's probably I'm just gonna. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Just saying, probably a lot of Will Smith.
We're gonna go with Barney or something.
The what?
Barney, the big purple dinosaur.
I love you. Yeah. No. Unfortunately, I can't even be that mean to people. Or as Circe says, she says it depends on the game. Which, yeah, there is that too. And the type of RP. Like if it's bar RP, I can go with something chill and mellow. If I'm like in the middle of like a combat RP fight, I like something like edgy and like rocky, something with a lot of guitars and, stuff in it. Throw a couple soundtracks on there from the old days, like The Crow. That was a good soundtrack. If you've not ever listened to it, then you weren't apparently growing up in the 90s like I was. Because everybody had that soundtrack, and it's still awesome.
You're so young and cute.
I know. You old timers. We can't all listen to Yellow Submarine while we roleplay jazz. I once lived in a yellow submarine. A yellow submarine. A yellow submarine.
You can stop now.
I sing like a beautiful angel.
My ears are bleeding.
Angel. So, all right. Well, before we get into our main topic, as usual, we have a word from our sponsor. Hey, Chadwick the Time Wizard here. You can just call me Chad. Yeah. Do you totally have a hard time managing your life? I know I do. Or I did, but not anymore. No way, man. I'm here to tell you, you too can take control of your life again. Grab time by the balls. That's right. Make it your bitch with my 342-step program of time mastery. Yeah. Never worry about how you manage or don't manage your time again. I'll be in your town through a magic portal to the End of Time Convention Center and pretty much any day and any time you want because I got time by the balls. That's right. I mean, not really by the balls, but, figuratively. I don't think time even actually has balls. But if it did, I totally have it by them. Yeah, totally. So come on down and listen to me speak and demonstrate how you too can completely heterosexually do some ball grabbing. That's right. Leave with an easy to follow 342-step guide called, you guessed it, Grab Time by the Balls, for only $99.99 for eternity. Chadwick the Time Wizard is not responsible for persons lost to infinity, changes in timeline of history, or world-ending paradoxes. Use time responsibly, never drink in time. I'm just saying, pretty sure that guy just hasn't come out of the closet yet. That's a lot of ball grabbing for somebody that's claims to be straight. Fucking Chads. Can never trust a Chad. So, on to our talk. Jess just goes completely quiet. She's like, he's talking about gay stuff, making hungry. Stop! Oh, she knows I love the gays. They're a very clean race of people.
I was thinking the Chad thing.
Please stop talking.
What? I don't know. I'm just saying they're very svelte. And also Liddens. So, our main topic is splitting your roleplay time. So, what is it that makes you decide that you want to spend your time playing the game that you're actually in or role-playing, So, by this, it is basically, we like roleplay. We love roleplay. We're doing roleplay, but it's also not exclusive to MMOs to do it in. It's MMORPG, but before that, where they all got their stuff start from was D&D and pen and paper, and of course, excuse me, got the hiccup still. There's like 1,000 other versions of that kind of stuff out there that you can role play in with pen and paper stuff. There's obviously LARP, which is the live action role play, which is still better than Civil War reenactors. I don't care what people say. At least someone's not fighting for the South. Yeah. Get her done. I'm in Oklahoma. I can say that legally. All right. So, that's what we do here at Roleplay. So we're also role-playing. We're not doing that, obviously. Other people, some people do that and do both, but we're here specifically role-playing in an MMO, which is probably because we like video games as a genre. We like to play them. So that's why we're kind of going over this, is how do you split your time between what you want to do in roleplay and versus actually just playing the game like you would any other video game if you didn't roleplay. We're kind of going to go over what each one of us, what our mindset is. I know how I actually had to stop and think about why I would, especially lately, I've come to, I was like, man, I've been playing the games an actual lot and kind of brushing some role play that maybe I would kind of find interesting, but not entirely, but been brushing it aside because I want to do the new shiny thing. So we've got Jazz up here first. So what's when it comes to that kind of stuff, what makes you decide what you're gonna do every time you log in, Jazz, between one or the other?
Well, originally when I was running the guild in EU, I really didn't do anything but RP. I didn't have time to do anything but RP. Because between my own personal RP and building stories for the guild members and then just managing the guild both in RP and not RP kept me pretty busy.
Yeah.
But
and Jazz, you used to have, you don't even have as much time. Your kids were, as kids get older, oddly enough, they actually almost seem to become more demanding.
Yes.
And you also have several, you also have more than you used to back when I first met you, which also takes up time.
I started out with just Mark and then Xander. And when I was role-playing, I had those two, and I was pregnant with Nathan. So Nathan was born while I had started role-playing. And I had more time, which is really, but it didn't work outside the home. So
Yeah.
there was that.
And
I
also,
did pay-
and you were having
well,
health issues at the time.
yes, I
That
was.
was
I was.
Mhm.
long before
Yeah.
you pegged down what was causing you to have so many problems
Right.
too.
Nobody knew what was wrong. I was sleeping all the time. I would get overwhelmed and I would sleep. So I ended up where I would get up at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd be up until 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I would go to bed. And so my time with my kids was limited as well, because if they were too loud, I'd fall asleep right where I was sitting. Loud noises, any kind of stressful situation, I just shut off. They eventually figured out it was seizures, but it took them a long time. And I eventually got better, and I'm okay now. But
Yep.
back then, I was
rough.
running the guild, and I had time because when I was awake, all y'all who don't sleep were awake. And so it was great. Now, of course, I go to bed at midnight, and I miss a lot of the role play that goes on after midnight, but I have a job in life, so I have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, same way here.
I have to make decisions now that I didn't have to make back then, which was, where do I want to focus my time? Which is why I brought up the topic originally.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it'd be something really interesting to get other people's takes on. For me, normally it would have been RP, but since I wouldn't say I'm burned out, but I want to do what I want to do to relax my brain after work. And sometimes that means playing the game and leveling and doing a dungeon and not really worrying too much about RP.
Rating.
Yeah.
which she never did before.
No.
Even let alone playing the game. Rating was like this vile kraken of a beast off in the distance for her.
Oh, you wanted to get me ranting, get me talking about rating.
Yeah,
Oh.
you wanted. Yeah, she looked at rating like it was something you scraped off the bottom of your shoe at a dog park.
Right, and my mom and my husband was a raider, and
Yeah,
spent
Triton.
a lot of his. Yeah,
I know we
Triton
called him
spent a
Jay
lot-
earlier, but Jay's more of
Yeah.
a real world thing. Triton is what is in game.
Right,
It's what we
Triton
call him on this
was
more often.
He was our raid leader, and he was one of our guild leaders, and he was the second in command.
Yeah, sleeping with the guild leader. Jeez, I wonder how he got that job.
And the funny part was
Yeah.
is Triton and Vodka were not together.
Yeah,
at
no,
all.
our characters were funny enough.
Yes. So it was very interesting. And so now I tend to decide just on my mood. If I'm in the mood to engage people, then I'll roleplay. And if I'm
Mhm.
not in the mood to engage roleplay, then I will just level and just kind of get into it. And if you'd have told me that back then, that I would ever be like this, I would never have believed you. But I love playing the game.
Yeah, and part of that I think has to do it. So I'll ask you this: how much of that? I know a lot of it was your lifestyle back when we first got together in EQ2 and your health issues. Which, by the way, gluten allergy. She actually has an honest to God gluten allergy.
Yeah,
Not one of those, not one of these fake hippie hipster assholes that's like, I don't eat anything with gluten. No, she literally has seizures because she was eating gluten.
Yes.
So
They were causing, because it's an autoimmune disorder, celiac, and I have a really bad form of it. So now I can't have anything really, not even gluten. I can't have anything grains or seeds or sugar or.
but she
It's
had
a
some
lot.
tequila last night.
I did, but that's okay because tequila is not made from a grain. So it is allowed.
Exactly. And I
So
drink in her
I have-
honor.
I have this laundry list of things I can't eat. But anyway, the point is that it helped me get my seizures under control. Both the medication that I took for about 2 years that healed my brain after the seizures and allowed my brain to stop seizing while they tried to figure out and ran blood tests, and eventually, just on a lark, figured out what was wrong, yanked me off of gluten, and the seizures vanished.
Yeah,
So
almost
that
overnight.
was the problem. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was amazing.
And now we get links from her for these horrible, god-awful recipes that we just nod, smile, and act like we're going to try one day, but in God's honest truth, is never going to set foot within my household.
You need to give some of them a try. They're really
Oh,
yummy
yeah.
to eat.
We'll go ahead and go right out to Sprouts and get that stuff right now. I can't wait to try the protein loaf. You know I love you. But no, what I was getting at was, so your decision back the day, part of it too was because, role play was like, you were brand new to it, you're creative, you absolutely loved it. So,
still do, but I've learned some
obviously.
distance.
You're doing a podcast on it. For the love of God, I hope you still like roleplay. It's all a lie. But how much of that between from then to now is dependent on the game you were playing? I know you played EverQuest 2 forever.
Yes, oh God. Sorry about that.
You played.
Don't be.
It's all right. It's so you played EQ2 forever, and of course now you're in ESO, and this is where not in EQ2. This is where you're really raiding and dungeon grinding and going out in ESO and finding what's the damn thing the sky shards that you're always going after too.
Mm-hmm.
So how much of that is dependent upon the game that you're playing as opposed to just how you feel as well?
I think that this game does it in a very different way than Guild Wars or any other game I've ever played before. So I'm really enjoying dungeon crawling and raiding because it doesn't feel like a dungeon. First of all, it looks like ruins and huge caves and underground cities, and it's open and it's not claustrophobic and it's not boring.
It's not one hallway after. Yeah,
right.
Sorry, EQ2 was really was a lot of their dungeon design really was hallway after hallway with a large room, then another hallway after hallway, then a large room.
It was claustrophobic and boring and predictable, and then you throw in, we have to do this zone 10 gazillion times. I want to do a dungeon once or twice, and then I'm really honestly done.
Yeah. Okay, I was just curious because, I know ESO, I know you've done a lot of the same dungeons a couple times, but the difference too is there's the difference in the mechanics, like EverQuest 2.
Yes.
You out-leveled the dungeon, you were done with that dungeon. There was literally never a reason to go back to it. So when you were
still hard, it's still a challenge every time.
Yeah, so when you were doing dungeons in EQ2, it was like literally 3 or 4 or 5 of them at the most that you could do repetitively. Kind of Final Fantasy is the exact same way. I know that you can level down in them, but of useful shit that you'll get out of a dungeon, it's basically the high tier or nothing.
Right, exactly.
And unlike that, ESO, you can do that one, and then you can do another dozen of them. All will be difficult, and then you can come back to that very first one you did, and since you've done all those others, you're like, I kind of remember doing it. and then you're always relying on one of the guys that's Quinn or one of the others to be like, okay, this is what you do, and then you're like, oh yeah, this guy was an asshole.
No, I really, really think that the difference is, because when I was in Guild Wars 2, it was a lot like this in the sense of the openness, so that wasn't necessarily the only reason, but I despised Guild Wars 2's dungeon system so much that after I did it for like a week, and I didn't even do the same one twice, I threw it out the window and I would not.
Yeah. For me, Guild Wars 2, it was a lot of their combat mechanics were a little annoying for me.
It was fine solo, and I loved their solo game, but their group game was just awful. And I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. There was no class. There was no need for a healer, really, but there was. It was confusing.
Yeah, you needed a healer, but nobody could be a healer.
Right.
Okay.
And it was just like,
you need a tank. Nobody can be a tank. We need DPS. Well, everybody's DPS.
Right. So at least there are classes, although it's a little blurry here, but I kind of like that. And I like the combat matrix. I like the way people move. It feels very organic, which I didn't think would happen, but I wasn't true in beta. That is now.
Yeah.
So, I think that's why now I have more of an inclination to spend time if I'm in the mood.
Yeah.
Just leveling and hanging out, whereas before I would sit and listen and stare at something forever and not actually, participate. So I just stare at the role play because there was nothing else to do. And now there's things to do, which is fine.
Yeah. That's what were you going to say, Sib?
No, I just was agreeing.
No, okay. Well, quit it.
That's my game.
Stop it. Quit it. God, I have an original idea for a change. Oh my God.
I'm going back to my corner.
That's it. Get back in your hole, woman, and make me a sandwich. So, but yeah, Jez that's very similar to how I thought it too, and it depends a lot on the game as well. Some games, it makes it a lot easier than others. Some are definitely a lot more friendly to that kind of stuff. How about you, Sid? What
Can I have you repeat the question, please?
yeah, but you're gonna have to pay. It's a microtransaction, unfortunately, to do that. You're gonna have to go to the cash shop.
Ashton, can I have you repeat the question, please?
This isn't a spelling bee, so no, because spelling bees suck. But no, I hate spelling bees. Can I get you to use that in a sentence? Yes. I mean, I'm not going to, but yes. No. What is it that you like? Makes you decide to either go role play or actually play the video game?
I'm really more of a let's just roll with it kind of person. If there's RP going on, I will try to go over and, check out what's going on, hang out. If I'm not feeling good or if I'm really tired, then usually I'll just go level, because my brain and my fingers are not working, and I would just flub everything up. And I'll use my character as an example, Volley. She's been like, I've been leveling her in hopes to get her to 160 in ESO, and I'm like at 120, and she's been at, above 100 forever now, but if something comes up, I just will go hang out. It's not like if somebody's like, hey, we're going to RP over at the tavern, I'm like, okay, I'm coming.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter to me either way.
Just kind of roll with it, like you said.
Yeah, pretty much. I just roll with it. So whatever's going on, I try to be there. I do have the issue a lot of times. A lot of the RP, for some reason, happens later in the evenings, and there's a lot of times I just can't make it because of work. Because I gotta get up early and pay so I can play these games.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's something weird about a lot of role players. I don't know. I know a lot of us have jobs, but there's such a vast number of people that role play that it's like, all right, we're getting ready to start something. I'm looking at the clock. It's like 10:30. I'm like, I gotta go to bed.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people, I think a lot of it is just like our daughter's working now, but she's, works hours like, 4 to midnight. So I think it's like a lot of jobs these days, people just have really strange work days, work hours. It's not it's not back in the, 50s, 60s and 70s where everyone had a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job and things like that anymore. I mean, I know you and I obviously, we work during the day. We start at 7 and get off when we get done. But even that, we still, we're off on a Thursday and we still have to work on a Saturday. So, I wonder if that's a lot of people have that same thing. Cause I've noticed that too. It's like some of the really cool role play stuff. It's like happens while we're having to sleep to go to work the next morning. And it's like, it's easy to make they have no lives and don't have jobs, but that's, that's just that old stereotype. Doesn't actually happen that way. A lot of people just have different jobs and different work hours than people used to have.
But so. I try to hit up RP whenever I see it. If I see something, let's RP, I'm like, what time is it? Okay, let's go.
Yeah. I got 45 minutes, but as long as it's quick. It's a quickie.
That's right.
That's right. Quickie role play. So for me, it's kind of a combination of, I like to roll with it too, but it also kind of depends on how I'm feeling. Like if I know that there's like a role play event or role play happening, I'll just log in and play the game right up until that starts, and then or if you got to be there a little early, I'll do that. A lot of times for me, I'll play the game and the mechanics of it until something else comes up that's roleplay wise. The game, playing the game itself is the filler to the meat and potatoes that would be, I guess, roleplay. So, I guess if the roleplay was the meat and then the game was the potatoes, I don't know what dessert would be. But anyway, so now I just want food, really. I was just getting hungry. So, but yeah, and for me too, the other conflict I come across is because I do like I'm a very competitive person. I do like to level. I like to have my tunes maxed out and things like that. And
Same, yeah.
yeah, so like on Tarvala right now, part of the reason I've role played a lot with her in the one guild, but also that's mostly also because I've been playing the crap out of her trying to level her up to get to 50, and then she'll instantly jump to whatever the 160 something level I'm at on my main character, so, which is nice. So I've always, even on Kenix, when we first got in the game, I leveled the crap out of him because I like to see content. I like doing quests and seeing story things and learning the lore as I go. So, there's times where that need and that competitive nature of mine overrules the want to go and roleplay. So if it's something that's kind of, someone's just doing like a random role play and it's just like a get together, I might skip out on it to keep leveling and doing the quests, as opposed to something that's like a meaty, juicy story. Or if there's, for me, the real big hook is if there's going to be combat, I'll probably be there because I like fighting things, especially even if it's like role play combat, because your character gets to look like a much bigger badass when you get to type out what you do than sitting spamming the same 4 or 5 buttons over and over that everybody else has too. You can do some pretty cool stuff. I've used a fire whip and taken the head off of a giant troll that they brought in for a training thing. I've stuck a burning mace through the back of shoulder blades out through the heart in front of a chest of a gargoyle they brought in. It's just part of that's because my girl's name is Tarvala and they do alphabetical order on combat, so she's always the last one, and she tends to get that killing blow, which turns out to be epically awesome. Makes her look really cool too. Now she just needs to land in a crouch and be like, yeah, cape flapping in the wind. She doesn't have a cape, she wears armor. But yeah, and so like new content like Morrowind, man, I've actually finished almost all of that. There's a few things, like a few world bosses and one buggy ass quest I wasn't able to finish that I had to delete, and now I forgot where I picked it up at. So until I find it again, I can't finish that quest either. But I've done most of that. Whenever new expansions or DLC comes out, I like to rush. I don't rush through the combat, but I like to get through the content and stuff like that because I just like seeing new stuff.
You're one of those people that kill everything, and when I come through, it's like there's
Yep.
nothing here.
Yeah, like even Final Fantasy 14. I'm probably not going to go back and roleplay there, but I actually want to get the Stormblood expansion here after maybe the first time it goes on sale, and I'll play through that. It's just a good storyline for Final Fantasy, so it's always a lot of fun. That's one of my hang-ups. And then, I've got to balance that with roleplay. It's just one of those things, and then of course there's some days where I'm just in a shitty mood and I don't want to roleplay with people because I know that old rule that we have that if you're in a shitty mood, don't fucking roleplay because you're going to end up pissing people off.
I don't know why that is such a hard rule for people to follow, but it's one that is rarely followed, and I follow it myself. If I'm just in one of those moods, I know if somebody says something dumb, I'm pretty likely to have my character say, "You're an idiot," even though I don't think she would say that, simply because I'm in a bad mood.
Yeah, and
so,
or even worse,
I don't
or worse off, they say it out of character, and you're like, "You're an idiot."
Yeah, or certain choice swear words. So it's just best if when I'm in, or my headache hurts really bad.
A headache, like the other day, I know you said you were in a funky mood. I think we eventually figured that out. Now that I said that, sorry.
Yeah.
But you're in a shit mood. But we figured out because if you want to tell them why, go ahead, because I understand.
I mean. Well, it's really kind of funny because I don't know why it didn't even occur to me, but it didn't. My dad died this year, and this is the first Father's Day that he wasn't here.
Mm-hmm.
And we were never close, and I didn't know him that well.
But still your father.
I would always go out of my way to at least call him and say, hi, Dad, or send him something in the mail that said I was thinking about it, even since I was just a teenager. even though I didn't stand him, I didn't like him, I still, would reach out on Father's Day because it was my way of flipping him off, because it kind of was that originally.
Reminding you, remember me.
Yeah, because he didn't want to, really. He kind of X'd me out of his life, and so I would purposely remember it initially just to be obnoxious.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I got older, it got kind of a habit, and our relationship shifted, and he actually looked forward to it, which is kind of funny.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the first Father's Day when I didn't have his ability to reach out to him, and I was just in this my kids were skulking around the house, the cat had left, the dog wasn't anywhere near me. I was just in one of those moods. And
yeah, you started talking to me, and I was like, how's it going? And you're like, I'm just in a shitty mood today for no damn reason, and I don't even know why.
And he's like talking to me, and he's like, you doesn't have anything to do with Father's Day. And I was like, oh my God, yes it does. Wow, that's what's wrong. Great. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go now.
Yeah. Yeah. But at least you figured it out, and
yes.
it is one of those weird, I lost my dad too, and it's been years for me, so it doesn't really bother me like it used to. I also have another dad. They weren't married. Mom remarried, but not that there's anything wrong with that. But so I still have a dad to say Happy Father's Day to, and of course being a dad myself, I get Happy Father's Days as well. But yeah, it can be rough, but it's that kind of thing that if you're in a shitty mood like that, that's probably a good time if you're going to log in. Just play the damn game. Don't interact with people.
Yeah, when you're in a really bad mood,
and that's an excellent rule.
Yes, it is. It is something that we have always enforced in our. If somebody logged on drunk or high, we would say, I'm happy to talk to you, but I prefer you didn't move.
Yeah, I know we've all, we're not saying we're high and mighty and we're above it, because I've made the mistake several times, and I'm sure I will in the future. If I'm in a kind of a crummy mood, but say something came up that I really was looking forward to, and then maybe someone does or says something stupid, and it's like, that mousetrap snaps in my head. I'm like, all right, I'm taking this motherfucker down. And and I probably shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I think we've all, anybody that role plays, we've all done that. Nobody, unless you're the more chill and lax person. Yeah,
we've all learned, and that's why we have the role in the first place. Is that I know better than anybody when I'm in a bad mood that I am more likely to snap. And so it's just one of those things, and.
Yeah, and I've already got such a shitty filter as it is that it doesn't take much when I'm in a good mood to go off on somebody.
That's no lie.
Really doing something bad.
So it's really important, I think. And that's when the game is there, why not take advantage of that? Plus, like you, I like having my character be, if my character is badass.
Right, yeah, you don't always play strong characters.
Right. Not always. A lot of my characters are not. But if I'm playing a badass or someone that I want to be seen as dangerous, then I want to be max. Even though I know in my head the level doesn't matter.
It's still, it like we said in that previous episode, it doesn't and it does at the same time.
Yeah. And it just gives me a better feel for the character. Because if I'm going to play a badass, I need to know that character really well. And knowing the combat, knowing how my character works, knowing the spells by heart, knowing what they do as I watch them over and over and over again.
Helps.
That it helps you get in touch with that character, and if you're going to play a really intensive bad person or good person.
Not to mention, too, depending on the game, you can't get the really cool-looking gear to make them look like a badass until you've maxed out the level.
Totally that, too. Originally, that's how you and Jay and Logan and a couple of others tricked me into maxing out my character.
Look at this piece of armor that you can't wear. You would look neat in that. This. Oh, well, loser.
10 levels, you could have this. Jason did that. He was like, 10 levels, and you could have this. And I was like, 10, huh? I'll even help you. Really? You swear? I swear. I'm not going to do one of those annoying signature quests. He wilts. No, we don't have to do the signature quest. Yeah. Okay, then I'll do it. So, that's originally how I got into leveling, was being bribed by armor.
That's just dirty.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So... Yeah, but that's kind of my reasoning there, and I know we've actually still got several points to, and we're already an hour into the show, so we'll kind of speed through these last bits here, because I know there is actually a raid that they want to get to as well, but we usually go another 10-15 minutes anyway. We should have plenty of time to get through that. The other part, too, is, of course, with RP, once you start getting involved with people, there's a bit of an expectation on your part to continue that interaction. You know, if there's time-sensitive plots and stories and things like that, there's a balance of that expectation versus running off and ignoring everybody else just to play the game. You know, a lot of times, you know, you every situation is different, obviously, but when you start interacting with people on a regular basis, you need to keep doing that. You know, I know people do shuffle off and things do die, but if you're still in the game and stuff, that's part of where that balance is important, is because you don't want to leave people you're role-playing with hanging on, you know, like, and we've seen it a lot of times where somebody, you know, they hinge their characters on a pivotal point and the other guy runs off to do raids 7 nights a week for the next month for some reason, or, you know, it's different when they just don't show up, because if real life comes around, obviously that's beyond anyone's control. It happened, you know, death in the family. It happened with us recently. But when you're still in the game, but then you just start to ignore the person, you know, it's kind of a crap thing that comes up.
It's really important to, I don't really know how to put this. I put it really well in my guild thing that your role play is your role play and it's your responsibility. Even if you include someone else in your role play, it's still your role play and it's still your responsibility. Mm-hmm. And I really believe that. And I think that it's too easy for people to think that, well, I've shared my role play with this person and now they can't play, so this is their fault. No, not really.
Right.
I just had this conversation with someone because they were saying that because this person didn't play, there was nothing that they could do to, you know, do well. And I explained, like, I had a character in EQ that was married to someone who never played.
Yeah, I remember.
They're like,
that.
What did you do? And I was like, she was still the healer and she still went and did what she did and nothing changed.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to have my character's husband around to heal and to
do other things. Yeah.
Because her getting laid is not the course of my whole roleplay. Therefore, it doesn't matter if her husband isn't around anymore.
Yeah, but at the same time too, when you start doing that kind of stuff, whether it be, I didn't even, because I don't think about it. I wasn't even thinking of relationship roleplay. I was just talking about like plot lines.
It often is right, but it's just an example.
You are right. Yeah.
I mean, if you tie your roleplay to someone, that does not mean your roleplay stops when they're no longer tied to you, be it sexual or relationship or whatever.
Yeah.
You can still have that roleplay. It just means you have to be a little bit more creative about what
or a little more vague on where so-and-so is and what you guys are doing in the meantime, because not everything in roleplay has to be, you know, actually happen in the game. You can also agree to be like, all right, so we've not had time to play, you know, or you're off doing this. Can we just say that they've been meeting? You know, I know we did that with our characters. Like, we roleplayed, but, you know, like, they were married, so they did married couple things. They would wake up together, they'd have lunches and dinners and things like that, but you didn't roleplay out every single interaction, just kind of the more important ones. But, you know, when your roleplay partner, it disappears all of a sudden and stops talking to you, but they're still in the game, you know, it definitely sucks. But that's one of those things you need to manage those expectations. So, you know, if you know that you're going to be doing more gameplay than roleplay, maybe don't get so involved with somebody to that extent that that you leave them hanging. Because like Jess says, yes, I mean, what she said is true, but not everybody is able to like write their way out of that paper bag, I guess would be you know, or they're so, some people's minds, they don't work around a problem. They're so linear that if it doesn't happen, that in their head they're stuck. Like I don't know how many characters we've seen die out because they couldn't figure out how to get out of the problem, even though it was super easy. at least on, us looking on the outside, in their head, they were stuck. They were painted into that corner.
Yeah, and it's also that, some people, much like when I write, if I'm not inspired, I can't write. And for some people, if they're not inspired by X, Y, and Z, they can't create a story. They can't feel connected, so they can't role play with other people. I understand that.
Yeah, that makes sense too.
I understand that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even think of that. But that same thing. If the muse isn't speaking to you, then you're just sitting there with just slash nod over and over and over again.
Yeah, exactly.
There's been times I've logged in and I was super excited, then I started getting tired, and then my character, I noticed, just is starting to do one-word replies, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I should probably just log out. I'm nodding an awful lot.
Yeah.
So on the other side of that, I wrote conversely in our notes several times, because apparently I don't know the definition of conversely. If you're going to be doing a lot of that gameplay stuff and, not role-playing, which is perfectly fine. I mean, you're playing an MMO, you're playing video games. I play lots of single-player games. Don't bitch and moan to your guild leader and guild officers that there's never any role-play going on, because you yourself aren't helping to create it either. You're just out playing the game. That is the most annoying ass thing ever. And it happens. It's happened a lot. And there's nothing wrong, choosing one over the others. Like I said, the mood shifts on you. But to constantly be logged into the game and playing and doing all these other things, and then being like, well, yeah, I do that because there's never role play going on. And like, well, we just had an event last night that you didn't show up to. You are out playing the game. Don't whine to us about how there's no role play. There's no role play because you don't show up to the role play that's there.
Yes.
There's no.
And if it's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But then don't turn around and be mad at us because you didn't want to join in.
Yeah. Yeah, like me, I don't show up to a lot of, the performance role play venue things because I don't enjoy reading songs. It's not all that fun for me. I like listening to songs. So I don't show up to them. But then I don't go the next day and be like, man, there was no role play last night. It was garbage.
I want to say role play is kind of like fishing. You throw your lure out there.
Yep.
I'm going to do some RP over at the tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you might get a bite and sometimes you might not.
Yep.
But don't give up. Just keep trying.
And either way, beer makes it better.
Yeah. And you can drink beer and fish.
That's very true.
That's right.
You can drink beer and RP.
Get her done.
Your RP might get a little interesting. But no, seriously, don't give up. And if you're one of those people that gripe, just say, hey, if you really want to RP, just go, hey, I want to RP.
Yep.
And, keep saying it every night. Eventually somebody will be like, all right, let's do this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's very true, but just don't complain that there's never any role play around when you're actually, is role play around, you're just choosing not to participate in it. That does not count as there's never any role play. Just making that clear. So
there's nothing wrong with not wanting to play something. I think we all understand that, but at the same time,
you can't then bitch that thing just like it never existed, or because you didn't like it. There's plenty of role play that goes on that I have no interest in. There's plenty of people out there, like the things that I absolutely love about role play, combat and conflicts and character development and things like that. People don't like. No, I'm not necessarily character development. Hopefully they like that if they're role playing, but some people can't. They have no interest whatsoever in doing RP combat at all. So cool. That's fine.
I'm not a very big RP combatter.
Yeah, exactly. I know you're not huge on it, but then you don't. When there's a big melee brawl duel thing, you're not like that next day like there was nothing good going on last night.
I'll sit around and talk to people. I just don't like to RP duel that much. I'm not good at it.
So moving on to the next thing too, which is like it's the conversely to that converse that we just conversed about. If you do nothing but roleplay constantly, you can seriously burn yourself out as well. I mean, you're in an MMO game. It's a video game. So if you're doing nothing but role play, I've seen a lot of people, they get so into it. So, even Jazz, like we were saying, she used to be that role played for, 10 hours a day, and she would
on a short day.
Yeah. And you would burn out.
I was in role play for like 15 hours a day.
Yeah, and you could burn out you burned out super hardcore at times because
Several
of that.
times. Yeah.
Because you weren't taking the break to actually play the game itself. You're like, if there's only something else I could do, well, there's like 14 zones of content you could go check out. Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna go sit in the tavern for another 5 hours. But that's just as raiders and stuff get burned out, if you do nothing but roleplay, it is just as easy to burn out and get overwhelmed. And you can also, you can kind of, just as you can with not enough things to do, if you've overburdened your character with way too many things and your characters evolve, of course, with almost every interaction, but just like any person, eventually they're going to snap, and it's just going to get so convoluted that they're just all over them. You got this, Sybil of a character that's just like doing multiple different personalities depending on who she's sitting in front of or he's sitting in front of, But, the other good thing too is that if you're playing some of the content, if all you do is role play, you actually learn a lot of the lore and the current in-game storyline by playing the game, by doing the newest expansion or this or that. You learn a lot of lore because there's a lot of quests still go into it, in a lot of places, especially in the more modern MMOs. They'll, ESO and Morrowind, they were pretty good about filling in a lot of the backstory on Morrowind and how things got where they were, even though, if you were playing a Dark Elf character in the Dark Elf homelands, they would still call you an Outlander, which was aggravating as shit to every Dark Elf player. But for everybody else, I'm sure it made perfect sense. But yeah, it's one of those balance issues where if you're doing that, you'll definitely learn a great deal more. Anybody on that one? Real quick.
No, I think that's true, and I also think one of the things that I learned after my first burnout hardcore was alter your friend.
Oh yeah, alter your friend.
You can't just play one character forever all the time. I mean, like, some people only play one character. Well, that's fine, and then they go play other games. Again, that's fine too. But you can't just sit and focus on one all the time, because it will eventually, just like you said, you'll burn out and you'll no longer be able to really have fun. And that's what roleplay is supposed to be in the end.
Yeah.
Fun.
Well, in the opposite of that, like in EQ2, really Xanus was it. That was, and even in the ESO is really the first time I've had a serious alt. But part of the reason I was able to play on Xanus as almost my main with almost no variation whatsoever for so long was because I did mix it up. I would go out and do gear grinds and things like that while and then role play. It really helped keep me from burning out on one or the other. You did a
lot of stuff with Triton, and you did a lot of stuff with, I'm trying to think what they were called, Wind Runners, and, other things like that. I mean, you stayed very active and very busy outside of roleplay. Yeah,
and it's just one of those things. If you're, because not every, like me, I'm the alcoholism, is that, I'm not sure what the version. I know alcoholic is the individual, but is the act of it alcoholism? I don't know.
I would say, yeah. I think that
sounds right. It sounds weird to say it out loud, but some of the words that we use in the show, we only type out. We never actually say out loud. So saying alcoholic is really weird out loud. It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue like alcoholic does, which never give up. So, all right. So we're going to start wrapping it up. But kind of in the conclusion of this is, we all have different levels of what it is that we all, want one more than the other. And kind of like a lot of things in life, it actually takes some introspection to know why and admit to yourself why you are or are not doing one thing. I know it sounds like a deep, meaningful thing, but in a lot of ways, you're talking about what you do in your valuable and often sparse free time. So it makes sense to actually take a look in on yourself and find out what it is you like to do the best and get the most out of. And that way, maximize the amount of fun and enjoyment you get out of something.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not having a lot of fun with it, why are you doing that? Why do you, it's not fun to smash your, self in the balls with a hammer. So I don't know, maybe don't,
Yeah.
maybe,
Well, if it's not isn't
maybe
fun
switch
anymore,
to a Nerf
stop.
bat.
Yeah. Something isn't fun, stop. If
Exactly.
you are overwhelmed or there's too much drama, figure out why, remove the drama, and find something else to do for a little while until you feel more like playing again. I mean, those are pretty simple things to do. They don't sound simple when you're addicted to a game, but
Right. Yeah.
They
It's
really
simple
are.
to say it, but
Yeah.
it really, it's simple to say it and it's simple to think about it. It's really not that hard to apply it. It's just a matter of like, stop, take a breath, think about it and be like, oh yeah, I'm really not enjoying like role playing this certain aspect or grinding out these dungeons every single night for a couple pieces of gear, mix it up a little bit. Give yourself a break. That's the whole, find that balance if you're not enjoying one thing over the other. And
that's the important word right there is balance.
Balance. Yeah, that's basically all that entire episode. We could just condense that down to that last word, balance.
Balance.
Good night.
Find your balance. Yeah, that is the important thing. And everybody's going to be different, but you got to find your balance.
Yeah, everybody's got their different breaking points. But so I think that'll pretty much wrap it up here. I want to thank everybody for listening, of course.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. But like I said earlier, 10,000, appreciate it. Go ahead, give us a shout out, contact us at rpmmmoradio@gmail.com, visit us at rpmmmoradio.com on Facebook,
We want to know what you
Twitter.
think.
Yeah, we want
Yeah.
we want to hear from you. We really, really do. We promise we won't bite. We may be snarky, we may be a little rude, but we are definitely going to appreciate hearing from you.
And I'll try to get that question up on the Facebook page.
Absolutely.
I'll try to lure people in. I'm still fishing. I'm using my fishing.
Fishing.
Okay,
Go in your
fishing.
fishing analogy.
Yeah.
So.
I'm fishing.
All right. Well, with that, appreciate you guys all tuning in live, and if you download the podcast later, definitely appreciate it. So, on behalf of RPMMO Radio, we thank you again, and y'all have a good night.
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 The thoughts and opinions expressed by RPMMO Radio are just that, and should not be taken as the gospel truth, but pretty close to it. Music provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great rock covers.